Welcome to the Not Your Average Runner podcast. If you're a woman who is midlife and plus-sized and you want to start running but don't know how or if it's even possible, you're in the right place. Using proven strategies and real-life experience, certified running and life coach Jill Angie shares how you can learn to run in the body you have right now.
You are listening to episode 18 of the Not Your Average Runner podcast. I'm your host, Jill Angie, and I have an awesome episode for you today. I recently had the pleasure of doing a Facebook Live with Martinus Evans and Latoya Shauntay Snell. And oh my God, we just had the most fun. Latoya is the force of nature behind the blog Running Fat Chef, and she's an accomplished runner and chef. And as you may have guessed, she doesn't look like the typical runner. And Martinus is the rock star behind the blog 300 Pounds and Running, and he's also an accomplished athlete and motivational speaker. So both of them are just shining examples of courage and authenticity in the running world. And I mean, they really lay it all out on the line, all of their challenges, all of their successes, and everything in between. And to top it all off, they are really super fun to hang out with, and we really had a great time. Now, links to follow both Martinus and Latoya on social media are all in the show notes, so make sure you follow them everywhere. I promise you will not be disappointed. So without further ado, here's the interview.
All right, everyone. I am super excited to announce the latest in the Facebook Live series that we've been doing at Not Your Average Runner with two of the not your averagest runners. I don't know how to say that. Two of the least average runners that I know, Latoya Shauntay Snell and Martinus Evans.
Hey y'all.
Hello from you guys. How's it going with you tonight?
Can't complain. Just got done doing marathon training.
Nice. I saw your live on your Facebook.
Yes, I literally hopped off the treadmill, grabbed my computer, and it's like, I need to get to Jill and Latoya. They're waiting on me.
I almost dropped a comment like, Martinus, you going to shower first? Or Obviously, the answer is no. Which is awesome.
Nope.
I love it. All right, Latoya, how about you? How you doing tonight?
Oh, well, I'm chilling here with my tea, my lemon, my ginger, my honey. I got the whole crew on deck. I am sick. I preserved my voice all day for you because I was not sure of how my little craggly voice was actually going to sound earlier on today. Hey, kitty. I'm terrible. But yeah, but I mean, for the most part, I can't complain, man. I mean, it's like fortunate but unfortunate. I was able to skip out on a training run today because I am sick, and I listened to my followers as they threatened me to please do not go outside and do any type of fitness shit. So I stayed home and went to sleep, and unfortunately I can't take any medication. So I'm kind of like stuck with the homeopathic method.
Nice. Well, your voice sounds good. So whatever you did.
Oh yeah. It's
worked out really well.
It's a whole bunch of salt and praying. Praying that my voice is not going to give out and then I go into a coughing fit.
Awesome. All right. Well, we got you covered. If that happens, Martinus is going to sing a song. So it's
Absolutely.
all good.
Yeah, he got the Barry voice, Barry White voice over there.
I know. This is what I'm counting on.
Hello, ladies.
Oh, the 976 hotline. Oh, we got to change the rating on
here. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay. We got a lot of people joining already. So this is fun. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Dee. And hi, Stephanie again. We get 2 highs from Stephanie. Okay, so here's what we're going to do tonight. So you guys that are watching, or if you're coming in late, I guess if you're coming in late, you're not going to hear me say this, but we are going to have a really fun interview with both Latoya and Martinus. We're going to hear all about like who they are, what they do. We're going to talk about their new podcast, which if you are like me and obsessed with listening to podcasts when you're running or when you're driving or just when you're sitting around staring at a wall, you are going to want to put this one on your playlist. So we're going to do that for a little while. And then at the end, I want you guys to save up your questions because you're going to get a chance to ask your questions of both Martinus and Latoya live, and they're going to answer them. Also, I probably should put out an explicit warning. We are all swearers.
F-bombs.
And then, and if you listen to their podcast, like it just does my heart good to hear all the F-bombs. But if you do have small children, might be listening over your shoulder, just cover their ears, and because there may be some things said, and it's going to be good. So, all right, so let's get started. Let's see. All right, Latoya, you're first on my screen.
Okay, cool.
In order. So what I'd love to hear is just like a little bit about yourself. I mean, I know a lot of your story, but I don't think I know all of it. Okay. And I'm sure there's some folks on the live right now that don't know any of it. So like, just tell us everything.
Awesome. So my name is Latoya Shauntay Snell. I am from kind of like a couple of months away from turning 33. I started my fitness journey, which originally was started off as a weight loss journey in 2013, May 28th, 2013 to be exact. I stopped counting after 265 pounds. I pretty much had hopped from career to career to career. Like the fields I was in before was social work and administration. As soon as the 2008 stock market kind of crashed, I was like, maybe this is the time to actually do a career change. And a bunch of my friends and family were super supportive about me going into the culinary field. I was fortunate enough to have friends who actually were willing to help me financially, back me into going into culinary school. I was able to have, I was afforded certain luxuries of working for like corporate dining and different places like Food networking and Food Network, and being able to do food photography. And in the middle of all of this, I was going through all these health issues. And the thing is, a lot of us, we tend to like brush it off and just say, oh, it's nothing, especially as a parent. I looked at it as, okay, yes, so what if my fingers are tingling? I still got to work. I live in New York City, so it makes it even worse, especially now where everything has gone up by like 600%, if that's even a real percentage. And I just kind of neglected areas of my health to a point where one day I went to work. I was in the middle of a dirty joke, to be very, very honest. I bent over in the middle of this dirty joke and could not get back up. My coworker's daughter was part of the joke. And, I can hear my sous chef like, hey, what's wrong? And I'm like, I can't tell you where the pain is at. And he's like, come on. He's like, tell me where the pain is at. And I'm like, it's in my ass. And he thinks it's a joke because, of course, my mouth is completely filthy. And next thing I know, my head goes face first into a lasagna pan.
Oh, my goodness.
And I thought that at most, maybe this was like overexertion. As a person in the culinary industry, as a chef in the culinary industry, we work ridiculous hours, even in corporate dining, where we are constantly on our feet from anywhere from 8 to sometimes 16 hours. And then we go out there, rinse, wash, repeat, do this crazy vicious cycle. Some of us have 2 jobs. And I found myself at a point where my doctor looked at me and he was like, okay, you're not going to have comfort sitting down. You're not going to have comfort standing up. You have sciatica, you have disc degeneration, you have a herniated disc, and on top of it, you're fat. And that's like pretty much like the long and short of it. I thought that this would be 2 weeks out. This turned out to be a year of me being on short-term disability to the point where I ended up losing my job. And I hit rock bottom. And essentially, I just got to this point where I don't know, as we said, I'm pretty much on the long run of the podcast that Martinus and I are doing. On the last episode, we were talking about the self-defeatist thing. And I used to be, and I still am at times, I have to remind myself not to be that person, where I would make jokes about myself before anyone else would, just so they wouldn't have the, oh, you're the fat bitch. Or if I am too vocal about certain things, I didn't want to be perceived as an angry Black woman. Got to a point where I couldn't laugh anymore. And that's when I decided, you know what, let me just actually give this a full-fledged effort because I don't have anything else to lose. I lost my career. I was on the brink of losing my life. I was losing my mobility, which is something that we kind of take advantage of heavily. We don't realize how much we need it until it's stripped away from us. And it started my fitness journey. I started really small. And then one of my friends actually, it's crazy, it's a MySpace buddy who's now on Facebook or whatever. And he signed up for this half marathon. I never ran a day in my life.
No.
Never ran a day in my life. I didn't do a 5K, as I've been told to many of platforms, which is like the notorious joke. I ran for the ice cream truck. And that was about it. And that's a true story. I really did run for the ice cream truck when I was 7 months pregnant, to the point where the ice cream man used to pull up in front of my house. And he's like, if you stop running for me, while you're pregnant like that, I will pull up to the front of your house every day. And he did. Really cool guy. And really cool guy. I love him. He's still around the neighborhood and everything. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, like he's the neighborhood ice cream man. And long story short, I was like, you know what? I got to give myself a chance. I stopped looking for everyone else to hold my hand and essentially had to become my own best cheerleader. And I just threw myself into this half marathon because my friend did it. Like no background, no, hey, I'm going to start off slow and go into a 5K, which is something I don't recommend people to do and kind of follow my lead unless you are extreme like that, where you have this truth or dare kind of spirit. And that's really my story. Like I literally got out there, but I remember before it was almost like foreshadowing where I saw this guy on this track that's near my neighborhood, and he would go out there with headphones and he would just be out there dancing and smiling. And it wasn't his physique that really got me. It was his spirit. It was how he smiled. Like he just did not care who was looking at him. He didn't care what perception people had of him. He would do these speed drills. And then all of a sudden he'd just go backwards and he'd just be dancing the entire time. And I'm like, I need that type of happiness.
Yeah.
And that's what running has given me over the last, essentially since I did my race 2014, 4 years. That's what running has given me. So yeah, I didn't start doing a blog until 2016. I was like August 2016 when I started the blog, so it's almost 2 years old. And I started talking about my potty mouth journey of, my fitness journey. And I didn't think that a lot of people would be receptive to it. I was like, okay, I'm going to bore people who aren't runners and not going to be into this. It started off for a small group to follow my journey into like this huge platform of people just like sending me their similar stories. And the crazy part was knowing that a lot of these people weren't runners. Unfortunately, it came with a little bit of backlash, a lot of backlash, where I received a multitude of hate mail that would range from talking about my weight to the possible knee problems I will have, which is the stereotypical things that people associate with being a plus size runner. And I'm like, okay, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, to outright being called the N-word. And I would basically write them back and say, hey, listen, can you tell me something else that's different? Like, can you talk about my mama? Be creative. But sometimes some of these heckles would be so vicious that even I would have to take a step back. As of recently, I've been I think a lot of people really got to know me because of the recent article that I wrote for The Root probably about 4 months ago. And I was talking about my experience with being heckled during the New York City Marathon. And in turn, it turned like an audience of probably maybe no more than like 2,000 into now probably close to 10K. I was just transparent in 800 words, the best way I could possibly explain the thoughts that went through my head as some spectator, because I was so used to getting it online that I'm not used to getting people who are brave enough to say that in your face and say that it's going to take your quote unquote fat ass forever. Yeah. And I'm at mile 23. You're not out here on the course.
I'm almost done.
Yeah, I'm almost done. I got 3 more miles to die out here in this course. And here you go talking about it's going to take your fat ass forever. But the parts that bothered me was that literally the 22nd and 23rd mile was what I dedicated towards my twins that I had just lost. And that's still a sore spot for me because realistically, my due date is in a couple of days. So this has been a really rough month for me emotionally, to be very honest. It's rough when you are already dealing with being heckled. It's another layer when you just lost. Martinus literally was there when I actually told him, like, hey, dude, I'm pregnant. I was like, right. You don't have no drinks tonight. And he's like, why? And I was like, well, I can't have no drinks because I'm pregnant. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, surprise. In the middle of my marathon training, and literally a week later, I don't even think it was a week. I remember being sick like hell during my 5K. I couldn't maintain, and for me, it's unorthodox for me to do a 16-minute mile unless it's like a marathon. I couldn't even maintain a 16-minute pace. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Then the pain started kicking in. Then I went to ER. They saw the sonogram, and they're like, the lady looked like she was about to tell me congratulations. The next thing I knew, 1 technician turned into 4. 4 turned into a team. I'm like, listen, y'all got to tell me what's going on here. I was like, I don't like it when people start crowding up in the room and looking at me like a science experiment. Long story short, they're like, you were pregnant with twins. And I'm like, what do you mean? And pretty much the rest of the story goes from there. Like, it's a really sore spot for me. Long story short, I'm not pregnant anymore, and that's the part that was hard for me, more than the heckling. It was just like the audacity of this man to tease my journey, and he has no idea of why I'm out here. He does not know the health issues that I've had to deal with, the hundreds of emails that people have sent me on why I should not be out there, the things that people tell fat people every day. It's just like, how fucking dare you? And I felt like the story was necessary to talk about, and my life has not been the same since. It's been crazy since November 29th. It's a beautiful and a scary, kind of scary, but I feel like it's actually taught me something along the way, because now I'm able to listen to other people share their stories and their experiences and some of the insecurities that they have. And now we're able to bounce back inspiration off of each other. So that's pretty much like my backstory.
Damn. I mean, like, I'm getting teary just thinking about everything that you've gone through, but I'm also like deeply grateful that you were willing to stand up and go through it, because of all the people that you're inspiring and all the people that have gone through similar things and have had, the cat calls and the negativity and just all the bullshit, when like all they're trying to do is get the fuck out there and improve themselves. And then people are just, like have no idea what anybody else's story is. And they're just like throwing their negativity. Like, I think that happens on a daily basis to so many people. And we all think, oh, it's just me. Right. So for you to step up and be like, hey, it's not just you, and here's what we're going to do about it, it just gives me chills to know that there are people out there like you that are just willing to just stand up and like, just lay it all out there.
Yeah. And I think you should, a lot of people would they tell us to be quiet, and when I say us, I mean people who suffer from disabilities, people who suffer from being, called vicious names because they're different, or they don't have society's standard of a particular size. We're told to be silent, or we're suggested to make a change. And in the moment that we make a change and it's not good enough to someone else's standard, you have to get to a point where you ask yourself, am I trying to make the other person happy, or am I trying to make myself happy? And I mean, if it was just as simple as weight loss, I've already done it. First year, I had lost 100 pounds. I got down to 160. I was 10 pounds away from my goal weight and completely hated it. Realized that my problem was not so much the weight. I mean, because the thing is, I was doing this for weight loss just so I can be healthier. But once the health issues, a lot of them started to turn around. Some of these things I have for the rest of my life. Like, I have endometriosis that I was recently diagnosed with, which was the reason why I miscarried. And I've miscarried so much before. These are things that I have to work with. But I realized that a lot of my initial goals of why I was trying to lose weight in the first place wasn't for me. It was more for everybody else. And once you reach that desired number or desired look, you have to ask yourself, is this truly for me? And what's going to make me happy? Because that size and that number is not going to make you happy. It's all in here. It's all about the mental. It's all about how you perceive yourself. And honestly, if negativity can be contagious, so can, positivity. And I've been trying to do that for the last 4 years.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Let that shit spread all over the place.
Yes.
Sneeze it everywhere.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I'm contagious right now.
I love it. So Martinus, I know that your story of how you got introduced to running is, different, but still involved somebody else telling you.
Yeah, absolutely.
A doctor. And like, I would just love to hear, like, let's hear your story of how you kind of got to, started running, your journey, and what's brought you to this point as well. Because you and Latoya have very similar missions, I think, which is to sort of spread that positivity and just like show people what's possible.
Right. Well, at first, after listening to Latoya's story, I was thinking to myself, damn, I should have been a gentleman and I should have went first and then let Latoya bring in all the careers and things of that sort. But I guess I'll tell my little old story.
Whatever.
You've got a good story. I love your story.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Martinus Evans. I am 300 pounds of running, the head goal crusher in charge. So, my story starts in 2012, but before that, it goes even back before that. So, starting high school, I was a high school athlete. I only played like 2 years. My junior and senior year, got a football scholarship. Coach called me into the room and told me, Evans, you light in the ass, for lack of better words. I graduated high school, 270 pounds, soaking wet, and I'm thinking, I'm good, right? So I go to this college. He says, Evan, you light. You need to eat everything that's not stapled or bolted down to the floor.
Wow.
So I just ate. I worked out, I ran. And long story, less long, I end up leaving that school and not playing football anymore. But however, those habits were still ingrained. So graduate college, I gained a good 60, 70 pounds. Start working at Men's Warehouse, doing commission sales. Gained more weight because it's commission sales. So you always got to be there. You on the run. I'm selling these suits. And I'm on the run. I got to make the money. So I'm just eating horrible. One day, walked into Men's Warehouse, weighing somewhere around 370, 380 pounds. I don't know, because the scale stopped working at 360 and felt a sharp pain in my hip. So sharp that I couldn't walk. All I just did is just fell to the ground. Went to the doctor. Doctor sent me to physical therapy. 20 weeks of physical therapy later, I found myself in front of a orthopedic specialist office. So I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. This guy is 5'5", 120 pounds, soaking wet, very thick accent. You know, I'm 6'2", 360, 370 pounds. And he looks at me and said, Mr. Evans, I know what's wrong with you. I'm like, what's going on, doc? Do I need a hip replacement? I'm like, what's going on? No, you're fat. I had rage, I had anger, I had fear, had a lot of things going through my head. But the main thing was looking at this guy and being like, don't you know I can crush you right now?
Right.
So the doc goes on and on about, Mr. Evans, you need to start walking. You need to lose weight. You know, start by walking 1 time around the track and 2 times. And all I can hear is like these voices of my past, like, you know how it's like voice of Christmas past, but now it's like voice of like fat ass past, of like everybody just being like, you're fat. You know, you're fat. You're fat. Like, I grew up with man titties. You're fat. And like, I just looked at him and said, screw you, I'm going to run a marathon. No, I not even a marathon. I said, I'm going to run a 5K marathon, not knowing that doesn't even exist. I made up some shit, right? I'm going to run, screw you, doc, I'm going to run a 5K marathon. And he looked me dead in my eye and said, that is the most stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. So,
wow.
Instead of hitting him like I want to, I stormed out the doctor's office and I drove home. And during the point of like me driving home and mulling around this whole thing, the doctor calling me fat, me being haunted by being fat, being called fat all through my life, I drove past a running shoe store and I made a U-turn and I went in there and I looked the sales associate in the eye and I said, I need running shoes and I need them now. She said, well, what type of shoes do you need? And I said, whatever's going to make me fast. And luckily enough, smart enough for her, luckily enough for me, that she's like, hold up, we need to do this gait analysis and figure out what type of shoes you need and, you know, things of that sort before we get you out of here. So I get out of there. I get home, I download 5 Couch to 5K programs. I don't know. I'm obsessive like that. And got on the treadmill, turned that bad boy up to 8 and hit Couch to 5K. And I failed miserably. I don't know who the hell I thought I was. Thought I was a runner. I thought I was running a 5K marathon. Instead, my fat ass almost fell off the treadmill. You know, it's like my body. I don't know if my body was rejecting the treadmill or the treadmill was rejecting my body. Either way, I didn't last no more than 30 seconds. So I felt defeated. I went home. My girlfriend at the time looked at me crazy and was like, what's going on? I told her the whole story. And then she looked at me and said, no struggle, no progress. So this is something I had tattooed on me since I was like 18 to 19. It's one of my favorite quotes from Frederick Douglass. It's like, if there's no struggle, there's no progress. So she told me that, and that kind of pulled me out of the stupor I was going into, because I had bought a half a gallon of butter pecan ice cream, and I was going to say, screw all this 5K marathon stuff, and I'm just going to eat some ice cream and eat my feelings. So it took me about 3 times of doing like week 1, day 1, I'm like couch to 5K in order for me to like complete it and then like progress throughout the journey. So, do a 5K, progress through that, do a 10K, half marathon, and things of that sort.
That's amazing though. Like you both kind of did this on a dare when it comes right down to it. And do you think that like, because somebody basically said, yeah, you can't do that, like helped ensure your success?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. I'm definitely a type of guy. I've always been that way. I'm hyper competitive. We can play to the winks or ball and jacks, and I'm going to try to be the best I can be, tic-tac-toe, whatever. So by him telling me that was the most stupidest thing he heard in his life, and me wanting to crush him with my 360-ish, 70-pound body, yeah, I had to run a 5K marathon.
Did you go back to that doctor afterwards and say, hey, by the way, I did a 5K and a marathon and everything in between?
No, screw that man. His bedside manners is horrible.
Send him a picture of your race medals.
He's dead to me, Jill.
He's dead to you.
Oh, damn. All right then.
George Bush said it right. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me, ain't gonna fool me again. No. Dead to me.
My doctor thought I was that shit crazy when I said I was going to go out there. I'm going to go and do a marathon. And he was like, yeah, you looking to lose your mobility for the rest of your life. And when I lost the weight, he looked at me like, so what you been doing differently? You went to Weight Watchers? And I'm like, no, I went out there and did everything that you said not to do. Thanks.
It's so good though. It's just like, I kind of feel like those are some of the best reasons to like revenge running is it's a thing. And it's very powerful. It's very powerful.
It's real, man. I mean, I don't recommend people to kind of like go completely against a doctor. Like, I mean, like if you have like autoimmune disease or something like that, like I want to sit here and say, hey, you know what? Just go the natural route. Screw what the doctor said. They just, they're trying to oppress you. No, I'm not going to say that. Like, I mean, I got a kid out, a kid that's a type 1 diabetic. My sister has lupus. So when it comes down to those things, like I listen to it, but I also have that 10% of me that's like, there's certain things that even science can screw up, and science can't determine my heart. It can't determine my passion or my dedication and how far I can actually take it. So, it's like finding that middle ground of, okay, here I got this laundry list of issues that I do have going on with me. But now how can I take all these realities and be able to say, how can I, check these things off and say, this is how I can make some type of change. And I think that's where we have to take it. We have to be able to say, okay, cool. I can't just take the route that's going to be straight. Maybe I do have to take the route that has a little bit of dips and turns, and it's probably going to bring me back down and over a mountain and under this, this boat or whatever it takes, you do. And if it's not going to hinder you even more, then find a way to embrace it. You have to find a way to embrace the suck. These adventures are not all established or meant to be put in front of you for them to be easy. I don't think that there's stories I've ever been intrigued by because the journey was just so damn easy. It was just like, wow, I'm so inspired by this guy practically doing nothing. No one's going
to read that book.
No. Like, it's not realistic. I mean, we all have our hurdles. It may not be, it may not be a weight issue. It might be a mental issue. It might be, my child is going through this, that, and the third. It's a matter of being able to not be in denial of what's going on, acknowledge what it is, and be able to say, okay, here's my checklist. Whether you write it out or you have it in your head and say, these are the things that's going against me, that this is the way I'm going to find my way out of this hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
And I think from my side, it's really about, like I said, I'm very obsessive about things. So I was very methodical about everything I did when it came to me running this 5K marathon that doesn't exist. So I did couch to 5K, and I did all 10 weeks, and I ran a 5K. Well, kind of, sort of. I finished the 5K.
You
know what I'm saying? Because one of the things they don't tell you is a couch to 5K, you stop at 30 minutes, and I still need another 25 more minutes to run.
That's some bullshit right there, is the couch to 5K.
Yeah.
30 minutes. No.
So,
Anyway.
but it was still like still a methodical, like couch to 5K, 5K to 10K, 10K to half marathon. All right, half marathon, half marathon to marathon training. It was very methodical for me of like, these are the steps that need to happen, and these are the steps that I took. But it was still hard as hell. Like being 300 plus pounds and pounding on the pavement still hurts. And, asshole kids and grown assholes honking their cars and mooing at you and saying, run, big man, run, or run, fat ass, and, all this other stuff still hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when people yell stuff like that, because I'm like, really? That's all you've got? Like, come on. Or like, they run, Forrest, run. Like,
right.
Stop.
Please.
Like, this is why you're yelling out of a car window, because that is the best you can do.
See, that's the reason why my middle finger is always happy. I like this is the reason why I am bisexual, because, like, my hands do not discriminate. It is equal opportunity. So when you see number one, you definitely get great by number two. It is bisexual. It's universal hands. It is like equal opportunity discrimination. I will tell anybody in the street from 8 to 80, I might be nice to the kids. But if you're 18 and above, no, I'm going to give you the biggest fuck you that I can possibly throw out.
Right, you get these hands.
That's so good. All right, so let's talk about this podcast that you guys have together, because, like, just for anybody that's not familiar, it's Martinus and Latoya just kind of riffing the entire time. And it starts out, he's like, oh yeah, we're going to have this little 30-minute podcast. We're going to keep it short and sweet. And then, like, first episode's like an hour.
Exactly. I was like, that's a damn lie. I was like, that we could both talk forever.
So talk about, like, how did you come up with the idea for this podcast, and what's it all about? Like, who's it for?
Shit is for everybody. No.
The best.
So I wanted, it started from this. I have the 300 Pounds of Running podcast. Jill has been on there twice, or about to be twice, and you should go listen to those episodes because they're pretty dope. But I interview back of the packers, people who are slow runners or lost weight through the mechanism of running. Like, that's my jam. I love to talk to people about running, and I love to talk to people about weight loss. And I kind of just put those things together and just reached out to every fat runner or back of the packer or whoever lost weight that I can ever find, and interview them and talk about their process and where they came from, what they're doing now, just to inspire the next person. Because when I started this in 2012, it was pretty much empty. Like, me finding another, like, plus size runner was like few and far between. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons I started the podcast. And then I had Latoya on there when she was on, I want to say, was it the BuzzFeed article?
Yeah, it was BuzzFeed. Like, literally, it kicked in BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed was 20, damn, I can't remember.
15?
2016, January 2016. I was in Boston, because that's when I met you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Latoya was in BuzzFeed. Reached out to her, had her on the podcast. A couple weeks later, she was in Boston, and we just kicked it off. We had so much fun just talking and just shooting the shit. And, like, she was just good people and good vibes. And, I was thinking about doing something else with 300 Pounds of Running, maybe having something a little bit more personal, talk about my journey, give people advice. But I felt like I wasn't that entertaining. And I was like, well, let me figure out, I
got to argue with you there, but all right.
I felt as if I wasn't that entertaining. But I had just had another podcast interview with Latoya because she kept going viral. And I was like, well, I just keep keeping up with each other. And every time I go to New York, first person I call is like Latoya, say, hey, like, I want to see you. Let's go hang out and things of that sort. So we kind of built like this friendship, brother-sister relationship. And it's just being cool ass people. So I was talking to my significant other and I was like, I think I want to do something. And Latoya was kicking around this idea of starting a podcast, but she really didn't know if she wanted to do it. And I was like, hey, Toya, I know you want to do a podcast and you can still do that, but how about we come up with something together? Because every time we get on the phone or we text or we podcast or whatever, we always laughing and just cutting the fool. Exactly. So why not just do it? And she said, yeah. And it kind of came from there. It kind of came from there. Like, Latoya's such a good person. She had a great influence on me and my significant other, and just her vibes are so amazing that I just felt like, I want to be a part of this because that's my homie. And, we got to do this. So it really just started off at that. Like, hey, Latoya, let's do this. If it don't work out, we can quit. I'll just have it on the 300 pounds of running feed. And if it get big, we can split it off. But if not, and we feel like, hey, we, do 10 episodes, do 100 and be like, you know what, we done. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to worry about, starting new websites and things of that sort because the audience is already there. But, I asked Latoya and she said, yeah. Hell yeah. And you can ask her about, what was her mindset about joining your boy. But that's what I was thinking about.
Man, love it. I was like, hell yeah, man. I had to jump on that. I mean, Martinez is dope as hell. Like, he ain't boring. So shut up. You ain't boring. I was looking for that balance. And on top of it, I am like an undiagnosed ADHD. I needed someone who has a little bit more of that structure that I don't have. And I feel like he has that. So I was like, all right, you know what? As soon as he threw the idea out there, I was like, there ain't no way I'm saying no to this, man. I was like, this is perfect. I'm like, because they leave it up to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this podcast. People will be waiting 3 more weeks. So you say you was going to do that podcast. And I was like, yeah, but, life. Life happened. So like this podcast is keeping me very honest with my fitness journey, is keeping me very honest about the feelings that come along with it. And literally hiccups like this of being sick and being able to have others relate to it and say, yeah, what do you do on a week that you're sick? What do you do when somebody says something that's detrimental? I love the idea that we're able to respond back to our audience week by week and say, hey, listen, this is the question that we got. And instead of having to repeat that question in private over and over again, or for the ones that don't want to read my long rants, it's beautiful to be able to have a platform that I'm able to not only get my perspective, but they're able to hear it from the male perspective, which I think is a voice that is not as heard as much as the female's perspective these days.
Mm.
Yeah, completely agree.
And that's pretty much where it is. We riff, we talk about the format is that, and the format was that I wanted to keep it very casual because I know both of us are very busy, so I figured why not talk about our weight loss journey, our running journey, what are some things that we're struggling with through the week, and then just pick one topic because I'm always getting emails, Toya always getting emails, and everybody always want a perspective like, how do I start running? I lost my motivation. How do I get motivated? I got this negative self-talk. How do I deal with that? And I figured, we both are long-winded individuals that we can come, we have enough advice that we can, provide to the folks. And it's just another opportunity for us to talk to each other, like build more friendships and just shoot the shit. Because usually our podcast sessions are usually 2.5, 3 hours because the first 2 hours we are just talking,
pretty much,
shit, and then be like, all right, Latoya, we got to start this damn podcast.
I think you need to start taking some of the outtakes, some of like the and just like put that with those little clips on Instagram. be some good. Those would be some good teachers. All right. Well, what I want to do, because we've been having a good time talking for the past 45 minutes. This is awesome.
Damn. This is what happens.
I know. I knew what I was getting into when I asked you guys to come on the podcast. Stick to an hour. And I do want to open it up because I'm looking over here at the comments and I see we have quite a few folks. And I say, hey, shout out to Myrna. Say hi, Myrna.
Myrna. Shout out to Myrna. The
girl. So good. So I just have one question for each of you to answer, and then we're going to turn it over to questions. So, and I'll let you guys decide who's going to go first. But the question is, if you had no worries about failure, and that might mean if you knew that success was inevitable, or if you just didn't give a fuck if you crashed and burned, what would you do?
Nothing.
Okay, tell me everything. Why?
That's literally how I've been thriving. For the last 4 or 5 years, I do everything that I'm scared of. I would have not, if I felt like it was going to come to me easy, I would not do it. I would feel like I did not earn it. I feel like that fear gives me a level of humility that I don't want to lose. So if I had no fears about not being, that, I'm definitely going to make it across, then I don't know if I would have that much motivation to do the things that I do. Jumping out of an airplane scares the hell out of me. I did it completely off of fear. I got over my fear of flying in airplanes by jumping out of an airplane.
It's like go big or go home, right?
Yeah, like typical people say, hey, let's go on a roller coaster. I said, nah, let's just go into a perfectly good airplane and jump out of it. So I was like, it's a 3-for-1 deal. I was like, I don't like small spaces. I don't like airplanes. And I'm scared of heights. 3-for-1 deal. I'm like, go hard or go home. And I'm not saying that everybody should be as extreme. But in my case, I need that little fear of knowing that there's a possibility that things will go wrong to actually get me going. Everybody has their reasons and their whys of why they run or why they move or why they do certain things. But I love that little tickle of adrenaline rush. I don't want it to be so crazy where I'm a masochist, but just enough that, wow, this is challenging. This is a hell of a story to kind of like think back and say, these medals were earned, not just given to me. I have a story that's attached to it. And I can say, I'm looking at my medals right now. I can say, all right. And I looked at 2015 and I look at the marathon and I'm like, wow, this was something I never thought I would do. When I think about last year, I can honestly and wholeheartedly say that every mile, I knew there was somebody out there that I dedicated this to. So if I didn't have that fear, this wouldn't exist. My story would not exist. And I don't think I would be intrigued to actually talk about it because there would be nothing interesting that would keep me here. Yeah. Running is the one thing, aside from the multitude of crazy things that I do, but running is that one area where I do not get bored because it never gets easier for me.
Yeah. Damn, I love that perspective so much because I think so many people out there are like, I can't do that because it's too scary. And you're like,
embrace it crazy.
Scary, I'm all in. And here's what's so funny. So I did a live with Myrna a few weeks ago, and like she had a very similar theme. People would say, suggest something crazy to her to be like, hell no. Okay. Right. So like, it's that same kind of like, that's a terrible idea. When do we start? Right. Mm-hmm. I just love that so much. And I think that's what makes a life. Right.
Oh, shit. Oh, cat.
I love this cat.
Oh,
that cat's the MVP.
I was about to call 911.
Oh,
shit.
I can't wait to rewatch this video.
I need that cat on my marathons, man. Like, I need him on my 50K next month. Like, please, like,
she's not quite a year old yet, and she's a runner. So I don't know what else. Anyway, okay, Martinus, same question to you.
I would say the same thing, but from a different perspective. Like, I've always been the guy that tell me something I can't do and then watch me do it. And this has been something all throughout my life. I'm all about being persistent. I'm all about, conquering and crushing things that people thought I wasn't going to do. So even from growing up in Detroit in a single parent household and, making it through there, when my mom said I wasn't going to be able to go to college and she said she didn't know how to, figure out how I was going to pay for it, I found a way to get a football scholarship, from this stuff, the doctor telling me that I was going to be fat and I was going to die. And I was like, I'm going to run this 5K marathon. So, I always need some type of catalyst to keep me going. And I think for me, when I had 2 car accidents in 1 year in 2014 and I couldn't run, it really showed to me like how much I enjoyed running and how much I missed it and how not to take that stuff for granted. So pretty much, how my friends like to call me is I'm a prophet. So whatever I say I'm going to do, eventually I do it. So I remember starting running and just saying on a whim, like, oh, I'm going to be in Runner's World. And I'm in Runner's World. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the thing. And it, it's, you call it what you want, law, attraction, your higher being. But anything literally anything I say and I put my mind to, it will get accomplished. So it's not about how it would get done or in a perfect world. It's all about, for me, when it's going to get done and when I'm going to put my mind to it to get it done.
So fucking good. Damn. And I remember you, so you came to a retreat that I did a couple years ago. You were one of the speakers there and you gave like the most amazing speech. You talked all about like setting goals and like you were just, there were some of the women that were at that retreat came up to me later and they're like, who is that guy? Like, is he somebody famous? Because like they just had this feeling, this sense that like, he's gonna be something enormous someday. And like, just, Runner's World, like what have you, like they just kind of sense that about you. So I just thought, I never told you that. I should have probably passed that on.
Oh,
because like that really was like some pretty good mojo in that room. And like, you just have that, just that air about you. Just like, yeah, I'm just going to do great things and it's all happening for me. All right, you guys, that was some amazing stuff. And what I want to do now is ask our audience, because we've got a shit ton of people on this Facebook Live right now. So if you guys have questions for Latoya or Martinus, drop a comment and let me know. And there's about a 20-second delay. So we're just going to have to chat for a few minutes, for a few moments while that happens. But I'm going to read out some of the highs, some of the lows from people. Oh, Dre Smith is on. Hey, Dre.
Big Dre, what's up? My sister is on here too. I'm proud. Look at that. Proud.
Shirley. Is that Shirley?
Yeah.
Hi, Shirley. All right. Oh my God. We have a really good, let's see. Patsy, Wendy, Joanne, Beth, Laura, Roz, Stacy.
Myrna.
I got Clara. I've got Tammy. All right. I think it does need to happen every week, Myrna. You're absolutely right. You need to make this happen. It'll just be like the Runner Facebook Live show.
I know.
All right, what questions do you guys have for these two?
I want to say that, Myrna is by far one of the most inspirational people that I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, for sure.
And her spirit is, it's like gold. And like Myrna is just so fascinating to me. Like she is like, this woman knows like all these languages. She's classically trained. She done went to Oberlin, like shit I ain't even thought of.
And hold up, she's from Brooklyn.
And she's from Brooklyn. And we'll have these conversations.
Yes.
Like on some real stuff, we'll be having a conversation and then Myrna just busts out into like song. And it's like, Myrna, where the hell did that come from? It's like, it's classically trained, right? And it's like, oh, excuse me. I said, I was in the Glee Club once.
Martinez, your sister Mary's on too. This is awesome. All right, we got some questions. So Stephanie Thibodeau wants to know what your favorite race is.
Oh, man. Ooh. Favorite race. Oh,
and gosh. I guess this could be past or present or future. Like
Jesus. Okay. This is gonna be hard. I think I hit 100 races. I think
in like 4 years. That's insane.
Yeah, in 4 years, I think I hit 100 races. Let's see. Most memorable is the one I actually didn't get a medal. I'm looking at it on my wall. I'm like thinking back. I wore this tutu. And it was a 5 miler. It was for the LGBT run. And I remember my sciatica decided to start flailing like it flared up like hell, like 10 minutes before the race. And the crazy part is, I think I got I was like 2 seconds away from actually hitting the PR on that race.
Oh my God.
Because I was in so much damn pain. I just wanted it to end. And I had my friend on the sidelines who had took my bike, and he's yelling at me the entire time. He's like, "Get your fat ass on. Woo!" And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I would do anything to make him stop. I would do anything to make him stop. That was the first time I was able to go through 3 miles and actually on a race and actually hit a 10-minute pace, which was like, it was just something that did not happen. I was like, nothing in me. I'm not a sprinter. I am definitely a back of the pack runner. And for some reason, all of my energy, because he was really pissing me off. Like, at a certain point, I was just like, I need you to really shut up. You're not out here. You're on a bike. Please stop. And he's just yelling at me, and he's like doing all these crazy things. But for some reason, he had hit that right nerve that made me run like hell on this race. And I was just like, wow, that really worked. Pissing me off the right way makes me run faster. Being in pain made me run faster. But the most memorable DNF will definitely be from Myrna. Hands down, taking me out there on the North Face Endurance Challenge last year. And I am from Brooklyn. I dodge gunshots. I do not dodge snakes in nature. Okay?
Not much nature in Brooklyn.
Yeah, there's not much nature in Brooklyn. Brooklyn are the two-legged dogs that walk down the street, but I'm gonna be nice for the sake of Facebook Live. And I was at mile 7, and I probably had like a 5 or 10 minute. I was in pace. I was probably like 5 or 10 minutes ahead of her. And I got to a point where I saw this tree branch, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just jump over it. But then the tree branch started moving, and it had stripes. And I was like, tree branches don't move. And then it looked at me. And in my head, it had this full dialogue with me. We have a term called run your shit, which means that you're getting robbed. And for some reason, I thought the snake was going to rob me. He said, give me your wallet, give me your ID, give me everything. And I was like, you know what? You can have it. You know what? I'm not even part of the race anymore. And I ran back like Myrna was my mom. And I was like, Myrna. And then she looks at me with this big smile on her face coming downhill, talking about, what's wrong? And I'm like, it's a snake. And I'm out here on Instagram screaming, Jesus Cristo, over and over and over again, freaking out. And she looks at me and says, is it coiled? And I was like, Myrna, fuck you. Like, how dare you make this my first trail marathon? And she literally had to get me to walk around the snake. We saw several other snakes on this course, and I made it to mile 18, got to the edge of like this little strip where behind me was water. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not about this life. And literally it was like somebody was talking me down off the realistic ledge. And he's like, honey, the nearest checkpoint ain't going to be for another 3 miles. So you might as well just turn back around. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And that's when I DNF'd. I was like, I'm good. But it was the most memorable race because I don't think I was ever challenged to that level of being so damn scared in my life. But I needed that because up until that point, I never encountered that level of fear. So now I'm getting my redemption next month with the 50K instead of a marathon. It's going to be a 50K in DC because, of course, I like torture.
I love this. I love this.
Wait, is that the same race y'all came to my house afterwards and we went to that barbecue spot?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And we need to go back to that barbecue spot because that was my hopes and dreams all in that meal. I was so
like, I'm alive.
It was terrible. Like, I mean, because I went through a full-blown anxiety attack on the course for 3 miles. And I don't think that she heard me. I don't think she ever saw a moment that I was that quiet ever since she's met me until that snake ran up on me and tried to take my life. And she said it was friendly. I don't care how friendly it was. It was troublesome. It had a rap sheet. I know it did.
It had nefarious intentions. Very clear.
It was there.
All right, Martinus, I think it's going to be hard to top that.
It is going to be hard to top that. Couple things.
How was your 5K marathon?
My first 5K marathon was amazing. I have tons of pictures from there. Detroit Marathon. If anybody's ever in that area, I know people, New York, Boston, MCM, those are usually like the big races people talk about. But I feel like Detroit is one of those most underrated marathons. It's the only marathon where you get to run internationally.
Wow.
Like you start off in Detroit, you run around Detroit, you get some of the historic stuff, and then you go over, is it the Mackinac Bridge? Can't think of it, but you go over the bridge to Windsor, Ontario, and then, you see like the water and all that stuff, because like Detroit and Ontario is like next to each other. Yeah. So you go over the bridge and like you see all these people and things of that sort. You run in Canada a little bit, and then we have a tunnel that comes back, like the Detroit to Canada bridge, and it's like 1.5 miles long. So you run through that, and it's crazy because it's so silent. You underwater. Your cell phone don't work. It's just crazy. And then like once you come out from under that tunnel, it just gets loud, and like the marching band is there and like people cheering you on. Dopest experience I ever had. A race that I almost DNF was the Cheshire Half in Connecticut. I think it was Cheshire, Connecticut or Massachusetts, but it was the hottest day in the summer. So hot that the fire department had to come out and spray us all down with water. I remember them running out of water. They ran out of cups. They ran out of Gatorade. People was dropping off. And I remember just about to quit so many times. And like this guy was next to me, like, come on, big guy. We got this. We got this. And I finished the race. I looked around. The guy wasn't there anymore, so I don't know if I was hallucinating. But I remember just being nauseous that whole like afterwards and being like, I'm a puke, and I didn't, and it was amazing.
Damn, I like to think that you hallucinated that guy because you needed him.
Yeah,
he got you through. That's the best. Okay, we have a couple questions about fueling and meal plans. So I guess like if you could each talk to how you fuel for races and what kind of food do you eat to keep yourself in top running shape? Martinus, let's start with you.
Yeah, exactly. I can run on forever.
All right, so fuel. So I like to call myself vegan curious.
That's the best I've ever heard. I love that.
You have bi-curious and, all that stuff. I like to call myself vegan curious. So I've been eating vegan for about 2 or 3 months straight up. And then now I'm just going back to, eating clean or things of that sort for most of the time. So since I went vegan and like had this whole experience of I've been to the promised land, and I've been there without eating meat, and I've seen what I had to see, and I'm okay with eating meat. So, my diet, my weekly diet consists of me trying to be more plant-based than meat-based. So trying to eat as much vegetables and having that type of stuff in my system. And because I know how hard it is, to be vegan, but also to be vegan and have friends or like have a lifestyle or have a significant other who still like ribs and pork chops and filet mignon, and my nose still like the smell of that. So, I'm vegan curious, but I still got a little pork on my breath.
Oh my God. Now, so why are you vegan curious though? What is it about the vegan lifestyle that appeals to you?
So just like everybody else that started vegan, like past 90 days, like I seen What the Health, but I also, seeing that and like seeing the dead animals and all that stuff, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that. But also it was like one of those challenges. I was going through some things in my life and I just felt like nothing was controllable but what I can put in my mouth. So for lack of better words, I was like, well, I'm going to go vegan as a form of resistance and control in my life. So that was one of those things that helped me get to that vegan lifestyle. Because I've been paleo, I've been keto, I've tried all these other different diets. So it's like, well, haven't tried vegan. It seems the hardest. Let me give it a shot.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're like open about like having tried all these different things, because I do think especially for runners, like what you put in your body matters, and everyone's body is different. And so it is kind of helpful to try all of the different options out there and like, be athletic while you're trying them all to see what works best for you and, kind of make your decisions from an ethical and a personal and a physical standpoint. So I love
right. And I think that's more or less the thing, because when it really comes down to it, it's really about finding out what diet works best for you. Like everybody, that's the thing about, the health and fitness industry, is that everybody thinks they're an expert or a guru because they've been on a diet and they had success, and they want to tell everybody else about it. But that's not necessarily the case. So I'd rather try different things and figure out what I had success. And truthfully, I had success in all of them. Like I went paleo and I lost like 30 pounds. But after I started adding grains and shit, I gained it back. I started being vegan. I lost, 25 pounds. I started adding meat into there and I gained some of it back. Like, I've been keto and I never was down with the butter and the coffee, but, I've tried that. And, after I got off of it, I, gained some weight back. So it's not about, these diets. And I think for me, like the word diet is like temporary, but trying to figure out like what real lifestyle changes, or like what's the best, not even the best, like, but what is the least path of resistance that you have with your current eating style that you can do something that can be eating more healthily, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it does make perfect sense. And I think a lot of times we do get caught up in hearing other people say this is the best way to do it and forgetting that we get to decide for ourselves. So I love that. Yeah. Thanks for reinforcing that. Okay. So Latoya, I have to tell you guys, like on my screen, Martinus's picture, it says Martinus underneath him. And on Latoya's screen, it says Running Fat Chef. Yeah. So I always said Running Fat Chef next. Same question. But like, you're kind of a foodie. So like, I'm looking forward to hearing your like how you eat to keep up your running energy, what you find has worked for you and all that.
Can I interject real quick and say that watching Latoya's Insta Lives is one of the reasons why I still have pork on my breath, because some of the shit that she makes, I'll be like, okay, it'll take me 2.5 hours to get to her house, but it'll be worth it. Yeah. You can go ahead now.
Wait, I just also need to point out, Martinus, your entire family is commenting over here. On the plant-based versus pork breath debate. So that is kind of cracking me up right now. Oh my God. The best. Damn. All right. Yes. Latoya, please. Same question.
Yeah. Kind of like piggybacking off of him. I'm not a vegan. I'm actually, what people would say that I'm probably indecisive. I am actually a semi-vegetarian, which essentially, or the nice little cute little word that people come up with is flexitarian, where basically certain parts of the year or certain months, or maybe just like on a weekend, something like that, I basically eliminate meat products from my diet. What works for me, I'm not sold on the whole carb loading thing at all. It does not work for me. I feel overly stuffed. I feel, lack of a better word, I feel constipated. And I find that because I cross-train so much, just as much as I do my running, that it helps for me to increase my protein, actually. So my diet more or less looks more like, I'm going to say 40 to maybe even 50% protein. It will be 30% carbs, and the rest of it is like fats. And I mean like more like healthy fats, cooking with coconut oil, olive oil, having avocados. And I'm not scared to actually incorporate those fats into my diet. If anything, I realize that I need those things to kind of keep me going. But I love incorporating, I love this cat. I love incorporating greens heavily into my diet. I realized that things like beets are a culprit for me to have runner's trots. So as much as I love beets, I do not do them before a race. Otherwise, it's going to be a cute little fart that's not a fart. Yeah. I call it code name Gingerbread Man. I literally got blasted for this being my absolute first blog. that I had started off in 2016. And everybody's like, oh my God, what's the gingerbread man? And I was like, oh, go read it. It's about a 10-minute read. And
That's
then like,
awesome.
and my mom wrote me and she's like, you made an entire blog about shitting on yourself? And I'm like, it happens. And I think that's where, it's a real thing. Like I keep telling myself, my biggest fear is to be a shit meme. So I'm very conscious about what goes into my body. Plus it helps me when it comes down to being able to give my best performance out there. So as much as I love pork, I don't eat it as often, but when I do, oh baby, I love cooking me some pork. I like putting it on the grill, or I like doing the smoking technique. I don't like frying as much. And when I do, it has to be something like canola oil or peanut oil. And I'm very conscious about who I'm cooking for. So if somebody has an allergy, I try to avoid certain things. But I don't think that we are meant to eat salads 24/7, 365. Oh, what I'm going to have with my meal? Oh, I'm going to have just a little bit of meat and I'm going to have all these greens and nothing else. No, your food, you should be able to eat to live and actually live to eat. I think there is a balance in between the two. Incorporate grains, learn about other things than just eating white rice. Use some quinoa, make sure that there's some type of flavor in it. Experiment with making your own type of stocks and vegetable-based broths. You do not have to be a chef to make flavorful meals that are healthy. Because a lot of my audience was like, I can't cook like you. And I'm like, no, culinary school taught me the fundamentals. It taught me what the tools that I'm using in the kitchen, I might be using it wrong. But once you understand the fundamentals, you realize that it's not that hard to cook. And it's not that hard as once you know temperatures and you're able to look at something or hear a sizzle, it makes it just that much golden. So for me, if I don't eat something that I enjoy and I'm just eating it just to live, oh no, that's not gonna work, baby. I'm gonna be right back at 300. So yeah, I look for that. I look for that balance. I use things like fruits, like right now, like the entire hour, I've been sitting here with lemon. There's times where I use things like lemon, ginger, citrus, like oranges and stuff like that, where those things will naturally bring out the flavors. It has natural sugars versus using a whole bunch of sugar, white sugar, into my stuff. I learned how to efficiently read labels and understand that just because a product says organic cane sugar does not mean that it's not sugar. Sugar is still sugar. I don't drink as much juice. Water is my best friend. I love my coffee here and there, but I have to know what times of the day that it works best with my stomach. It's a great diuretic to help you kind of go to the bathroom, which is great to do before your run or before any type of heavy cardio-based activity, because the last thing you want to do is be out there for 10, 20 miles. And then all of a sudden now here you are begging and pleading with somebody at a restaurant, hey, can I use your toilet for $5? So you really have to experiment what works with your body and understand your own health status at that moment. My son's a type 1 diabetic. So it is important, it's pertinent that I understand what's behind that label, what carbs is going to send him through the roof and what doesn't. I know for my own body, I have endometriosis. Soy-based products are not going to work well for me, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to work well for someone else. So I think it's just really about experimentation.
Yeah, for sure. And like kind of keeping, like I always suggest to people, keep a food journal, not to like count your calories or weigh and measure your food, but to just be like, hey, I ate this on Tuesday and on Wednesday my run was amazing. Or I ate this on Tuesday and on Wednesday my run was shitty, like literally or figuratively, right? So, it's like really helpful to kind of tie what you eat, the timing of when you eat, and how your body feels like from an athletic perspective or otherwise. So yeah, I love that.
You have to be very conscious about what carbs you take in, because if you throw in a bunch of garbage carbs, then you're going to probably have a garbage run, because especially as a plus size runner, people assume that we must be eating, Twinkies and ho-hos and all this other stuff. No, I realistically can't. Especially if you take on like a vegan lifestyle, or you take on some type of lifestyle where you're having more plants in your diet, you'll realize that after a course of 3 weeks, your sugar, if you try to add in sugar after you reduced it after a certain amount of time and you try to go back to it, you're going to realize how sweet certain things taste. Your senses are so heightened. It was the one thing that I was thankful for with culinary school, because it gave me that understanding of knowing where you're actually shopping, understanding your purveyor, understanding what quality of food that you're eating, understanding that, hey, it even goes back to the farm, that the way that these people are actually raising their food, so while I love documentaries, and it was funny he mentioned What the Health, y'all don't want to get me started on that conversation because it's like I'm halfway sold on it, and other ways I'm like, it's another propaganda film, because you'll find issues across the board in anything in this lifetime, but it's just about, there's nothing wrong with being elevated and being conscious about what you're putting into your mouth so you know what to expect when it comes to it. So definitely, I encourage people, please keep a food journal, especially if you're not one of those people that want to keep it for too long. There's MyFitnessPal, there's the handmade, take a pen and paper, write it down, and you don't have to do it so much for calories. Just know how your body is responding to these things.
Yeah, for sure.
And one more thing to add, one of the things I did that I was struggling with is that I called it the rich bitch diet. Basically, I was like, well, if I'm going to eat out and I'm going to eat cookies and cakes and pies, I'm going to need to find the most expensive cake and pie I can do so it can be a hindrance. So I used to go around and look for $8 cupcakes and, $15 cookies because my ass can't afford that all the time. And well, that's what I'm eating.
Wait, what does a $15 cookie taste like? Because I can't even. I think you might be able to find them in Brooklyn, though. I'm like, definitely a $15 cupcake in Brooklyn.
This place is
they are to die for.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, it's good to know. All right, you guys. So we're kind of out of time tonight. So really quick, I want to know from each of you, where can people find you? And I know you guys can Google Martinus Evans. You can Google Latoya Shauntay Snell, running Fat Chef, 300 pounds and running. But like, where's the best place for people to connect with you? Where should they start? What can you tell me? And then also, where can we find the $15 cookie? Because I'm going to need to know that.
It's hilarious. For the website, for my blog, so you can see all of my rants and super loaded F-bombs, you can go to www.runningfatchef.com. You can read all of my rants, my food journals, like I have, not food journals, but I have recipes that's listed on there. I even have my triathlon journey that's listed on there. From half-dead goldfish to metamorphosing shark. It is a real, separate blog on there that's documenting my experience of not knowing how to swim to becoming a triathlete in a couple of months. You can also find me on Instagram, IAMLSHAUNTAY. I am L Shauntay. On Twitter, you can find me as Latoya Shauntay. And of course, you can always listen and tune in to The Long Run on 300 Pounds and Running every week.
Love it. How about you, Martinus?
Well, Facebook, Instagram, and website is at 300 Pounds and Running. 300 spell out pounds and running. Pounds with a P, not LBS, but pounds. Twitter is 300 LBS, ANDRUNNIN. Are you running?
Oh my God.
We are terrible.
I'm going to make sure all of these links are going to be in the show notes as well. So it's the podcast.
But yeah, the 300 Pounds of Running podcast. So it pretty much any podcatcher, iTunes, Stitcher, Podomatic, pretty much any podcatcher, you'll find the 300 Pounds of Running podcast. So search it, you can find it there. And like you said, you got the Long Run that comes out once a week, every Monday. And then we also have the 300 Pounds of Running podcast that comes out on Wednesdays. So get two podcasts for the price of one.
So they don't need to subscribe to two different podcasts. It's all going to come up.
It's all in one feed. You sign up for 300 Pounds of Running, you get both of them.
Okay. That's amazing. I love this. And then also, if you guys want to watch Martinus workout live, go to his Facebook page.
Yes. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Sundays, I work out, and I'm training for the New York City Marathon. And you can see my big ass out there running, live streaming, topless. I'm trying. One of my goals for this year, Jill, is to sexualize the male boob. So I want it to be as sexualized as the female boob. I have areolas. I have nipples.
Need to cover them up.
Our goal is to get her.
I need to send you a detailed bra. Like, I took my shirt off live on the internet and wearing my bra. So I think we need to like start having the Nell, the men's Nell.
I'm saying
you can sexualize your breasts. That you have to cover them up to sexualize them. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Hashtag free the man boobies.
Free the man boobies.
I love it.
I'm single-handedly going to sexualize the man boob. I'm practicing on my Instagram thought pictures and everything. All my poses. You can get ready for that on Weigh-In Wednesday. I'm gonna have a topless Instagram thought picture.
This is perfect. And this is what happens when you say something's going to happen. It happens. So,
it happens.
All right. Folks, you heard it here first.
I'm sorry. One last thing. I don't
know. I don't know if we can get better than that.
Yeah, no, it ain't going to be better than that. No, it's just on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, Running Fat Chef. You can look me up on there. On my Instagram page and on my Facebook page, they're basically connected. If you're interested in seeing workout videos, like any type of HIIT training, circuit training, it's pretty much just following my regimen and my routine, you can pretty much go on my Facebook page or you can go on my Instagram. I put up videos 3 times a week. This week, not so much because I'm sick. As you can tell, the entire time I've been eating lemons and drinking water and tea. But yeah, I typically do it on my Instagram feed as well as my Facebook feed, where I put up videos of calisthenic workouts. And if it's ever something that you have in mind or you need me to modify, please feel free to hit me up.
Love it. Thank you so much. And like, thank you to both you guys for showing up tonight and for keeping it not just real, but hilarious as always. I feel like I was listening to your podcast in the car today and I was kind of like, oh, I'm so excited for this talk tonight. I hope like it's as fun as their podcast sounds. And it was. I feel like I was like, all right, I was right. They are my best friends. It's good. Yeah. So for anybody who's listening, or if you're watching this on YouTube, also, if you listen to this whole thing and you're wondering why we're talking about the cat running around in back, it's because she's crazy and she's been like literally running around this entire time. So go to YouTube and check that out. And I'm actually going to gratuitous shot of my kitten. There she is.
Hi, baby.
Yeah.
Hi, baby. Oh, she's
been sitting on the side of my desk chewing on my arm for the past 10 minutes.
Oh.
That's been keeping her quiet. So probably going to go to the hospital after this.
Okay.
Going to need some Band-Aids. But anyway, everyone for joining us on the live. And thanks so much to Martinus and Latoya for giving so much of themselves today. And yeah, good luck with the podcast. I know it's going to be amazing, obviously. And thanks for listening. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey there. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Latoya and Martinus and special guest star Maddie, my cat. So don't forget to head on over to the show notes to get all the links to follow them on social media. You can find that at www.notyouraverage.runner.com/18. And that is it for this week. I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Not Your Average Runner podcast. If you liked what you heard and want more, head over to www.notyouraverage.runner.com to download your free 1-week jumpstart plan and get started running today.